Alright, we're here doing the Walsh training. Just letting the system shut down so we can get a nice fresh start from the beginning. Okay, so this is the system 6. We're just going to start with turning it on. Behind here is your power button. Flip that on. And actually while we're back there and we're waiting for this is going to take a couple seconds to boot up. And these are your 3 cables that are going to run everything. This is your power cable. Plugs in right there. Goes to your outlet. This is your 50-pin connector, which connects to all your deck plates out there and your start cable there. This runs into here. Then this feeds out to there. This is your scoreboard cable. This runs into the scoreboard jack here. And then sends data up to the scoreboard. We're currently having an issue with the scoreboard on the top line. This wasn't a new install. The scoreboard got taken down, so we're going to have that fixed just after that, after this training. All right, so you can see the system's booted up. Here's your main menu. We're going to keep it simple and start with pace clock first. Pace clock comes from here. Scott, if you have Workout Manager on your team management, you can actually hook up the same way to the System 6 to download your workouts into here, and they will display on the board for you, so the kids can't cheat. Have fun. If you want to do it manually, we have all these different inlays. This is your pace clock inlay. Pace clock is very simple to use. Even if you're not using a manual, you're not using the external software from High Tech. These are all the different workouts you can program in. This starts and stops each lane. This blanks and unblanks a lane. And this is to program a lane. You can start and stop all of your lanes from here. This is a number. This is your number keypad. This just is up and down when we have menus and we're over here trying to go up and down for things. And then these are all what we call our soft keys, because when we hit something here, it goes to another menu and then we see other stuff. So what we're going to do really quickly is just run through setups. The setups in here are very basic. You have how loud you hear that beep. You have a backlight intensity, which controls how bright the back is and how many lanes are in the pool. We only have 6 lanes in the pool. So to change that setting, I hit 3 on the keypad. You can see this prompt comes up. I just hit 6. Enter. I now have 6 lanes, which matches what we have in the pool. Scoreboard, if I want to do a self-test, I just hit 1, and then if we were connected to the scoreboard, everything would start blinking, just to show you that all the lights are working. And then the scoreboard intensity is just how bright it is. I always set this to 5 because the scoreboard intensity is very bright, set at 8. So I'm going to down that to 5. We don't use a printer typically with pace clock, but if we needed to, there is a USB drive right back here, USB drive A. You just plug into the USB drive, out into the printer, and then you'd be able to print your workouts that are programmed in here. And typically that is something you would do in Workout Manager anyway. Date and time is just that. If you want to set the time of day, we just set the time of day. Does anybody have it? 1:15.
We are 1:16.
It's Army time, so 13, 16. Our time's 1. I believe it is January 11th.
Yep.
All right, so I'm just going to save setups and quit. Oh, I might have skipped a little step here, but to get from menu item to menu item, up, down. Quit brings me back to my main screen. You can see that we now only have 6 lines and 6 lanes. These is gives us an idea of what's going to be happening next. So in lane 1, I'm going to just do a quick program. I hit the program button under 1. This is programming lane 1. We have reps, time, program, and direction. Direction is which way it counts, whether it counts up or down. For training purposes, I like to start with a countdown for sort of, okay, 30 seconds to get in the pool. So I'll enter 1 rep, 30 seconds. Then over here, I have all these different options. I can just hit more, count up or down. Now you can see that'll be counting down from 30 when to start. Enter that. I'm now on my next line item. I'm just going to do three. We'll say they're doing, 325s on 20 seconds. So I'll hit 3, 20 seconds, enter, and now that'll count up. It'll say lane 1 is on its first 50. Lane 1 is on its first repetition at 20 seconds. At 20 seconds, 1 will then 2, and keep counting up. So it goes. So in here I have this item of rest. If I want to get back down to there, I just use my up and down arrows. I hit rest. You can see it automatically switches to counting down. And I can just put in a 15-second rest. And you just keep going for however many sets you have. And when you're done with this, you can just quit out. We can name the workout here. In our settings, I'll show you that really quickly. If we go back into program, enter name, we'll just call this, you have keys here, so lane, okay. Now when I quit out, this will say lane 1. You can name it whatever you want, senior group, junior group, whatever floats your boat there. So now say I want to program 2. But I want to program 2 the same way I program 1. Then I can go over here to 1. I can copy another lane. I can copy lane 1. Enter. It just took everything that was in lane 1, put it in lane 2. If I want to program lane 3 with something different, I just go to program lane 3. Program it the same way. I have lane 3 and I have up to 6 lanes I can do that with. So I can do this 2 ways. I can hit start, stop, all. This will start everything at the same time. I hit start. You can see this started counting down from 30. It's going to go all the way down to 0. And then it's going to jump back up. It's going to start counting up for these little 20-second intervals we have. And then in typical fashion, you may have a couple kids that are kind of screwing around and they're not ready to get in. So if that happens, you can just come in and say, okay, start, stop. And then when they're ready to go, you can start again and it resets that 30-second countdown. If it's just lane 1 you want to stop for whatever reason, you can just hit start, stop on lane 1. You can see lane 2 is continuing to run. I hit start again, it resets just that lane. Just let this count down so you can see it pop up. You can see 1 of 3 on 20 seconds. It'll count up to 20, then it'll say 2 of 3 on 20 seconds, etc., etc. And you can see that both lanes are operating independently of themselves. 19, 20, and then 2 of 3, and that'll just keep running. It will show up there, yes.
So the kids will see that counting down, counting up. They know if they're on, you might have different abilities. So you got one group going on 30 seconds, one group on 40 seconds, and they'll be able to read that off the board. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to start, stop, all. There's really not a whole lot else in here you're going to use. Store data is just stuff you've done in the past. Maybe it's a workout you want to run again, and you can just enter that right from here. You can save this workout if you like, delete workouts. When you're ready to download something from Workout Manager, you just download transfer, and you're ready to pop the workouts in, and you're ready to run. That is really it for pace clock. So I'm going to go miscellaneous, and I'm going to go to change the sport. So I want to exit yes. Now I'm back at the main screen. We're using Gen 7 for diving, so we won't use this here. We are going to jump right over to swimming. So for swimming, we have a different inlay.
basically the pace clock is what you run workouts off of. To run the meat note, you need this. You just switch the inlet. Changes the features of the body.
You need something to store all that stuff in too.
It's behind you.
It's one of those cases.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all the extra stuff stays in the case. So that way you know when you need it, it's all right there.
It's like a regular store.
Okay, so we're going to go over swimming. Oh, by the way, for that pace clock, the only thing you really need is the scoreboard cable to run up to the scoreboard. For swimming, we're going to have the scoreboard cable running up to the scoreboard, and we're going to be using this 50-pin connector. As I explained earlier, that 50-pin connector goes out to that starter deck plate and the rest of those deck plates, which we'll go over after we go over the swimming program. For the swimming program, there are a lot of features, a lot of settings. I'm going to stick to the ones that pertain to your pool and the ability that you have for things to run. So you have the ability to print. I believe the printer is over there. I will get that set up for you shortly. For printing, you can print a race summary, a split summary, and a relay summary. You probably won't ever use the relay summary, and the split summary just gives you an outline of the cumulative and subtracted splits, and the race summary just gives you place and time with any backup discrepancies outside of 0.3 of a second, and form feed is just what form feed is. Quick options, there's not many of these you're going to worry about. Far end you don't have, so that'll always stay off. Display lanes, you always want that on because that gives you the ability to see everything happening over here. Whether or not buttons been hit or relay judging's been used, backup time, final time, place. If you turn it off, all that goes away and then you're kind of flying blind a little bit. So we'll leave that on. Typically people are moving from event to event so quickly that post race by place doesn't really help you out because by the time you've shown it on the board, within a couple seconds the next race is going off anyway. But all this will do is if you hit this race will go to the board, and instead of being in lane order, it'll be in place order. And event heat and home guest scores we don't have a line for, so we don't need to worry about those. Let's quit out of here. These are just some scoreboard settings. You're really not going to do anything in here. The only two you might be concerned with is scoreboard blank and scoreboard on. Scoreboard blank once completely blanks the scoreboard blank scoreboard once puts the time of day up. Blank it a second time, it goes completely blank. Scoreboard on puts the scoreboard on. It will be like you see it now. Clearing the lanes clears the time at the end of the race. Step data you don't have to worry about. Team scores and record times you don't have a spot for, so we're not going to worry about those. And that's everything in there. And you can see, again, I apologize, these are the soft keys, and I'm just, every time I hit them, a new menu comes up, and I'm using the quit button to back out to get to here. I'm going to jump over setups for a second and go to stored data. The stored data, this is where everything you've done gets stored. You can go through various races of a particular session or various events. You can print a particular race. Now, since I've already done some testing in here, there are some events, there are some races, and I'll show you how to get to those in a second. You can print a particular race, set that particular race to a false started race. You can edit times or DQ lanes from here for a particular race. Say you're on the 500 free, but you want to show the, or you're on the 100 fly, but you want to show the 50 free that happened before. You can just get the 50 free up here. You can post it to the scoreboard, and that'll go up. And then you could print the particular race you're looking, and that's the same print menu we saw earlier. Here we go. So from here, if I want to see a previous meet, just for whatever reason, I can go previous meet. You can see this brought me back to something that was done today a little bit earlier, which is just me starting. Trying to see if I can find something where I tested, which would probably be that one. If I go more, I go next race. You can see there's this testing I did of the deck plates. And you can see we have all of our buttons and times going in a nice ascending order. And that's how we would go back to that event. And if I wanted to print it, I could just print it from here. So now I'm just going to back out of here. We're not going to worry about miscellaneous, but I'm going to go through the setups. And I will try to keep that only to what you're using. Start, finish, you're not going to use anything in here. Everything is already set up. Even and odd lengths. Starting an odd length race is if you do a 25 and you start from that end of the pool, would be starting an odd length race from the far end. You'd probably start your races from the near end. Okay. So I'll just change that. And so now all of your races are set to start there. Near and primary finish is always going to be pad. And the only other one you might be interested in is posting the intermediate place on scoreboard. Typically, that place stays blank until a particular lane is finished, and then the place comes up. If it's a 200 and you want to see who's, what place they're in at the 50 to 100, and I turn this on, at the 50 it'll give you places, at the 100 it'll give you places. Totally a preference thing, so I will leave that. I'll just leave, Scott, where do you want that?
Leave it off.
Leave it off, okay. So I'm just going to hit 8 again, switch that back over. Hardware. Again, scoreboard intensity, 8 is usually a little bright, so 0. I'm going to change that to a 5. And there you go. You're not going to use anything else in here. Timing is always pretty standard. The only thing that's changed that they haven't defaulted to is we don't use automatic time adjustments anymore. So I'm going to turn that off. And typically any time adjustments will be done on the other end of things anyway. Near end split delay is 15 seconds. What that means is when the kid hits the pad, it's going to take 15 seconds for that pad to be able to get another touch. If anybody touches the pad 15 seconds after that touch occurred, it's not going to register anything. That's kind of important in relays. If somebody's taking longer than 15 seconds to get out of the pool and they kick the pad will register another touch. 15 seconds is usually pretty good. The pad delay at the start is essentially the same thing as a near end split delay, except it happens at the start. I usually jump that up to 15. The reason being is schools like a lot of meets, they do what's called flyover starts. So that gives the kids a chance. They just start right over the kids that are in the water. It gives the kids a chance to get out of the water. All right, pool setup, lane mapping. The lanes are normal. Lane 1 is lane 1. And what I mean by that is sometimes if this were set up on the other side and lane 6 was over there, we can go ahead and reverse the lanes. The displayed lane 1, this is displayed lane 1, will be physically wired lane 8. By physically wired, I mean back here, it will be wired lane 8. But here, it would be displayed as lane 1. Yours is normal, you're starting from here, we're going to keep the lanes normal. I'm going to clear out of here. And lanes used in pool is 6, I'm going to change that. You're going to see our screen adjusted, everything's done. Pool length is 25, pool distance is, pool length is 25 and the unit is yards. They can be meters. Scoreboard, again, you have that self-test. If you want to run a self-test, it'll just flash the light for you. It is a 6-line scoreboard, and everything else. Some coaches like to do these subtracted splits. Scott, do you want the cumulative splits or subtracted on the board?
Cumulative on the board.
Cumulative on the board.
I get subtracted on the laptop if I need them.
Okay. Right. Printer. This is just some basic printer settings. When you reset or store print, it's always gonna print if you have the printer hooked up. Here's your event sequences. Most of this is going to be governed by your high-tech meet management program, and you'll just download them into here. But what I'll do really quickly is just show you how to get in and see what's what and how to add stuff if you want to. Right now we're set up for boys high school. You can see right down here it tells me if I hit 0, I can view or edit the selected sequence. If I hit 0, this is a typical boys meet setup. 200 medley, freestyle, boom, boom, boom. I'm going to quit out of here. So say I want to program 8 for user-defined 1. I'll just hit number 8. It's highlighted 8. I want to view what's in there. Okay, well there's nothing in there. I have these keys down here which tells me distances for events. I can hit 400, enter, 400, enter, and it's just telling me that, I'm just telling this that event 1 is going to be a 400, event 2 is going to be a 400. Now if I want to add descriptions, I can hit 200, I can tell it to be a freestyle, I can tell it to be men's, women's, boys, or girls, up or down to select, and I can do an age group, same thing, up, down to select. Now we'll just proceed here. And it's usually finals. You won't have to do all this if you're doing Meet Manager because it'll download this entire description for you. If I hit enter, it's going to bring me to a new menu where I can copy opposite gender. All you're going to see is this girls, change to boys. There's a lot of meets. It goes a girls event, boys event, girls event, boys event. If I want to delete an event, I can go up. I can select delete. Am I sure? Yes. And you can see that event's gone away. I am going to pop out of here. So now the user one defined has a couple events in it just to make life easy. I'm going to pop up and select event number 2, or event sequence number 2. The date and time has already been set, but this is exactly the same as in Pacebox. Set the time of day, you're good to go. And we don't have to worry about wireless because we're hardwired into the computer there. So I'll put out of here. I'm going to go back into setups. I'm just going to save these setups. So that way when I shut this thing down, all those setups save. Alright, so right now you can see it only says 100 yards, which means it's not picking up the event that I programmed. 2 ways you can do this is you can just hit next event and that'll take you over to the next event. But typically meets start with the meet, what this is recognizing as a meet starts with a text. So a lot of times this race number will populate, that populates as 1 will be event 1, heat 1, race 1. It won't match up to what's in your computer, but it'll just be a test. So the other way we can get rid of that is using next event and then coming back using it as an event heat. Or we can go miscellaneous, create new meet, and yes. And now you can see I have my boys high school meet set up there. These are all your distances. I can change distances on the fly if I want. I just hit 400. You can see it switched to a 400. I'm just going to go back to the 200 that it was. These are all your lanes. You can turn individual lanes on and off if you don't have a swimmer or a swimmer gets out. You can turn them back on. This finish arm, if a 200-yard race means it's going to be looking for 4 touches. It's going to be looking for 4 touches on the pad. So if they miss the first 3 touches, you can just hit finish arm. It'll bring you right to the end of the race. That is useful if the kid misses the touch pad and it doesn't register a touch, and you can just bring them to the last lap if you need to. A split arm is a little more useful in relays. If somebody picks out and kicks a pad, I can hit split arm. It'll take a touch off. I can also manually add and minus touches here. I can hit plus touch, enter a lane, and enter. It'll add a touch, minus touch, enter a lane, enter. It'll take off a touch. This is a manual start. If the starter out there doesn't start it off. This store prints the race the most recently completed race. Some events have multiple heats. This advances the heat. So if I hit next heat, you can see it goes 1, 2, 3. This will advance the event. So it'll go from event 1 to event 2. And it'll reset my heat to event heat 1. Right, and this reset button, you need to hit this reset together, and then the system will reset. There is a couple little exceptions with the reset that I'll show you later. That is everything really on, that's everything in here that we need to know on how to do in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a walk out now. I'm just going to go over the connections quickly. Scott, right next to you there is a strobe light. So this is an external strobe light. If they want to set this up across the way on the other side, they can do that. I have set up 2 places to set this up. I can set this up in here and plug it into this, where it says strobe, or I can set it up on the system, on the
Infinity.
Yeah, the championship starter out there. So you have these 2 banana plugs here. This is for an external speaker, which is there. That is your external speaker. You have this here, which is your 50-pin connector as I've explained. This is for a banana plug start, which I'll show you on the starter in a second. This is a champ plug start, which is 1 cable, and it controls speaker, relay judging platform, lights, and start. All in 1 cable, otherwise you need to run a few different cables. So, let's take a walk out and start going over all the equipment for your swimming. Oi!
These
Yeah,
are
what?
no one, Scott.
Scott did it.
I mean, I don't have to fix these anymore, Scott.
No, we'll still probably have to do that, but not for now.
Since the pool's not full, I'm just going to put this, I'll just show you quickly. We're going to get some Velcro pieces that go over the gutter, and then this will hang on the Velcro pieces into the pool. But since the pool's not full right now, we're just going to leave this out so we don't drop it to the bottom of the pool. All right. So you have 6 deck plates and 1 starter deck plate. Down here, you can see this is labeled. It's tough to see. We have button C, B, A, touchpad, start, and speaker, and RJP. So I'm going to plug that into the touchpad. Probably better to have it turned around.
Well, the other way it had it tucked already. It was already tucked in the piece.
All right. And buttons can go in button A, B, or C, or you can use 3 buttons for all of that. Okay. You do have 1 RJP, which is sitting here right now. I'm just having this hooked up to show you. Ideally, you'd have 6 running out, but you can see this has a 4-prong connector that you want to 4-prong. Plugs in like this. You want to try to pull them in and out at the same time so you're not bending the pins. That plugs down into RJP. Typically that's how every lane would be set up. You may have more buttons, but in a typical race situation, that's what you're going to look at. I was explaining before, this champ starter comes out to here. This is your champ starter. It has an external speaker, on-off button. This is where you'll plug it into charge. I'll go over that during storage. You have all your adjustment knobs here. On this side, you can see you have the wall plate, which runs from here into the wall plate. I will show you also that you have a timer start speaker and speed lights here. And you also have that strobe I was telling you about. Where's that? With this strobe, we'll plug right into here or into the wall plate. It doesn't matter which way you plug it in. Just has that twist. Boom, boom. Okay. And for now, I'm just going to show you. Typically, when you're using this, the way your pool is configured, you're going to want all the volumes turned down. I'm going to fire this up. You're going to turn, best way to explain this. Right now, if I hit start, did that go off? This
flash.
This one off?
Yeah, quick flash.
Perfect. All right, we have the Aux Speaker. Now, if I have the Aux Speaker, you heard it when I did that, no beep. I turn the aux up a little bit. I get a very low beep. Nothing all the swimmers are going to hear. But then the problem is I'm going to try to turn this up to get it louder, but it doesn't work that way. So, the problem we run into is the higher we turn up the mic, the more likely we're going to get feedback. Just because we're not going to leave this, I showed how this hooks up and works. Let me unplug this so I don't have to hold it anymore. Okay, so if I turn aux all the way up, I'm going to get a loud beep out of this, and I'll be able to talk in the microphone. So I've got this all the way up. I'm going to turn that away from me. I'm going to start bringing the volume up slowly. Test, 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 test. I have a good loud microphone. I'm going to have a good loud squeal. And the only other thing I want you to see here is we have a light on the front of that. When I hit start, you get a nice loud beep, and that's going to light up. At the top of the box. Alright, and you heard the beep, was nice and loud. Now, that's if you have the Champ Starter hook up, it'll give you that capability. Now, one thing some people don't like is that the cable's running across the deck. We can disconnect the Champ Starter plug just by turning that, and that comes right off. Then we have this dual banana plug. Now you can see in this starter deck plate, I do have an RJP plug, so I can plug that in. I do have a speaker plug, so I can plug in there, and I also have a start plug, and those all run back. So, I'm just going to plug this into the timer start, and the only difference here is you're not going to see that light go off on the relay judging platform, but once I turn it back on. Voila. Excuse me. Every time I do that, it's sending a signal through there back to the starter. All right, let's run out here. All right, these are your touch pads. They have a tape switch up here and a screen behind it. And it's activated when a swimmer touches it. Buttons work in the same way. They're plugged into a button. You hit the button. The button only works when it's on the finish lap of the race. So let's see. We've been over the deck plates. We've been over the starter, touch pads, external strobe. Oh, this is your RJP. You also have your backstroke starting devices here. You can see the backstroke starting devices are just wrapped around and cranked in, so you can easily take them on and put them in and take them off. And the swimmers just pull these down Again, it's kind of hard to do when you're not in the water, but they can just pull these down, and once they start, they automatically retract. So that way somebody doesn't have to worry about pulling them out of the water mid-race to get them out of the way. The only other, so right now your system is on a tripod. You don't have a flag. They don't have a flag. Don't worry about it. We'll bring this one. They have mounts that you can tie onto the flagpole. They also have tripod, which is what we're using currently. What's that? Flagpole mount. Now hopefully if I did this right, we'll see some of that stuff we were working on out there happening in here. And you can see I have an extra start in here because I was starting it manually. I can accept or ignore that start. I'm just going to ignore it. You can see that when we were playing around with the touchpad, we got 2 touches. I'm just going to pop this up to the finish arm. And then you can just stay in here. I'm going to go out, touch the pad, and hit the button so you can see the button activate and the backup time come up. I had a Keanu Reeves that. So you can see because I was on the last place there, I was on the last length, I did get a backup button when I was out there, and I hit the backup button before I didn't get it. And there's my backup time because I hit the button first. It's a little bit faster than my time there. One other thing, if I hit reset now, it's going to ask me if I actually want to reset it. And the reason it's asking me that is because lanes 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 have no touches and no backups. So I'm just going to hit ignore reset. Sometimes if you forget to turn a lane off and you hit reset, then you can just go ahead and accept reset and the system will reset itself. But for now, I'm just going to ignore reset, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to turn off everything except lane 1, since we got something in lane 1. Now when I hit reset, it's going to automatically reset. If, say, I forget to reset and the next race goes to start, there it's going to hit start, and it's going to ask me, did you really want that to happen, or did maybe the official accidentally hit the start? I'm just going to hit ignore start. We'll just say it was an accidental hit on the start. So now I'm just going to hit reset, and the system automatically resets. This is just coming up to tell me that there was a discrepancy between the backup time and the pad time. All it's letting me know is that it happened. It's not doing anything else except notifying me. So I can quit out of here. I can go, so now that race would be over. I can go next race, next event. Here, next race would be the 2IM, if I want advanced heats. Say I accidentally hit next event when it's supposed to go to next heat. I use edit event heat, use my numeric keypad to go back to event 2. And we'll just say it's heat 2. And you can see it's going back to my 200 freestyle, back to event 2. And that's that. To shut this down now, what we're going to do is we're going to just go miscellaneous. And instead of change sport like we did to get out of pace clock to come into here, we're going to go shut down. Yes. And now the program's going to shut down. It's going to go, actually it's going to go back to the main menu. You're going to hit more, shut down, yes. And the system's going to go through all of its shutdown stuff. Once it says will now halt, and this bar gets to that point, it's shut down, and you can just turn the system on. All right. So very quickly, this is connected via these two, I don't know what you want to call them, mouse ear tabs. So I'm just going to disconnect. Sometimes they require a little bit of a squeeze to get them disconnected. Comes right out. Same thing on the wall. And that fell out. Not to put down back on this way. I squeezed a little too hard. And you just wind these up nice. I don't know how you guys plan on storing all of this, so I'm just going to roll it up and put it in a corner. Oh, very quickly, you also have this, which is just a cable harness. This connects directly to the near end here. And as you can see, it can be used as a backup in case something happens to a deck plate. Each lane is numbered. You have room for one button and one touchpad or whatever you want to use as prime. And this just plugs into there and runs out along the deck. But we will just back that up. Leave that. All right, the power, you can just unplug it. Scott, you want to get me the... You're upside down. That's the right one. Now they make the power a little finicky to put away, but essentially just put it nice like that.
Got every week I'm checking.
So you're going to test the check?
Scoreboard playable just unplugs.
I'll tell you, every time you check, that'll be in there the same way.
This is fully broken down now, so we'll just drop that in there. We'll put our inlays in there. You do have some space up here, so if you did want to keep, like, you know, a couple cables in there with it, that's easy peasy. So for now, I will just put this I'll just drop that right on there, so now you have that cable in with it. That just closes up. Click.
You walk into school with that, man, they're thinking you're doing something else and wanting to swim you.
Oh,
that's the last thing on their mind.
That's the gray one. That's the gray box. That's
the gray box.
That's maybe why they switched to the black box.
Still intimidating.
Sure.
Yeah, I think if you bring my memo, so that.
All right, we're just going to take a quick break to do some stuff.